2 guys, 2 struts, 2 minutes. It's the 222, all right? 2 guys, 2 struts, 2 minutes. That's if they're in the proper position. And that's just a general rule of thumb how the play goes. If you have to do an audible, then that changes the play a little bit. You add 1 more, add 2 more, or put it in a different position because it's obstructing my ingress, egress of my guys, or whatever you're using it for. So when you pull up to a car like this in a proper placement, what did we say our angles were? We talked about the angles already. 45 to 60. So if I'm going to put this in a proper position, I don't want to obstruct to be able to drop that roof down or ingress, egress, and I need to open this hood to de-energize the vehicle, right? It's stabilized, immobilized, stabilized, de-energized, either in that order or all at the same time. And it's all about the angles. So when I step off, I'm thinking, what angles is the car in? Where's the focal point? Where's the balance point? Where's the center of gravity? It's all about those angles that we need to build a geometric shape to accommodate and stabilize or capture a falling load, or keep it from falling based on the angle in which I put a strut, or which I place the cribbing, or a chain, or a rope, or anything that works at the time until I get the tools there that I need. We remember we got 4 phases of stabilization. Your initial stabilization for a side resting vehicle is blocks, chocks, and wedges. So what I'll have on the bottom of my car at my A and C posts, all you do is drive in at the base of the A post and the base of the C post. At the hard points there, you put in 2 wedges and tighten it up, and on the top side, you step chock right here at the B post. The one thing with the step chock, if you're putting, you guys know you can use them right side up or upside down. It's like it's no trick. We've been doing that for 20 years now, right? So the one thing that's important to remember is that if you look at this B pillar, it's at an angle. It's not square with the roof line. The roof rail goes one way, and this is angled a little bit. You guys see that, right? What I'm seeing time and time again when you're either in training or actually in the field, if you evaluate it, you're loading windows. So if I go straight in here, I can potentially just load the window on the other end of this thing. And so if the window breaks, or I purposely manage the glass, I'll see a shift based on the window. You follow me on that? So it's really important to get down where you're looking, find the angle, and follow the angle of the particular device. So whether I'm doing this or doing this, you got to follow the angle, all right? And if it doesn't touch, obviously you got to bring it up with your wedge here, which is designed to take a wedge in there. And a lot of times you can shoulder in here, shoulder in, drive it in further. And on the other side, you got A and C posts. And you've basically minimized the movement so I can move in with my jacks, all right? Once I do that, we got to think about, if I have glass here and glass here, I got to be able to break the glass. If I don't have a window, how many have a window punch in their pocket right now? 1, 2, okay, 3. How many? See one back there? Yeah, I got one in the coat. Okay, so you guys carry those, but what percentage is that? It's a pretty small percent, right?
They issue them to everybody, but
right.
They issue them to everybody.
Right, and so I recommend them because they're worth their weight in gold, and they don't weigh that much. But if you run into a scenario, if you have these step chocks that you guys are carrying, the other thing you can do, and what I do is I break the back window first, and then I reach in and grab the carpet mat there, and I put it over on the passenger side. I'll drop it right on that window there, so when I break the glass, it doesn't splash up in their face. So back one, carpet mat, drop it on that window, and reach in. And all you have to do on these is when you get into here, right here, go forward, away from the victim. And you don't need a window punch, you got a window punch. It's master key. Okay, so, and then remember to move away from where the victim might be lying on the seat aspect. You're down toward his legs a little more. Does that make sense? It's a really simple operation for doing that. Now, now why do I need to break that window? Because of the way I'm going to set up my strut, right? So now, I'm going to put on my coat now, and don my stuff here. So now, gaining access for something like that, it's really simple. And really, if I have a Halligan, that's my master key. I don't go anywhere without it. And you should always know where this is on a car wreck. It's either with the tools, on the car somewhere, in the car somewhere being used, or in somebody's hand. Usually whoever's the operations guy, he should be carrying this thing around. Okay, it's the most important tool that you have on the scene as far as rescue and extrication goes. Now, when I'm gaining access here, I want a good insertion point. Here's a couple of rules of thumb, and you can share this with your guys. When you're placing these struts in place, and you're putting a proper insertion point, and the proper insertion point on the top of the car, the first place that I would always put it, these are always strong points now. The A-pillar, they're always strong points, all right? They have a 4-to-1 rollover ratio with all the new cars, meaning you could, with a single rollover, this post, and this post can take 4 times the weight of that vehicle once, okay? And so I'm gonna utilize that to my strength. And if I go to the base, I have all this here in this scenario here. So obviously I have to manage the glass right here, make a big enough opening to capture it with my strut. So if my insertion point, what do you say, it's right around a little under 6 feet? So right back where he is over here, he can actually stand back there with a strut while I'm putting in my blocks, chocks, and wedges for initial stabilization. He's back there extending the strut. And here's the rule of thumb on that. If you have a 6-foot insertion point, go 1.5 feet above that in a vertical position all the way back there. And as soon as you walk in and you put it in, it's always 100% of the time in your 45 to 60 degree angle, every time. And so that kind of speeds things up. It's very efficient to do it that way. So, but in the meantime, you know, Mike is going to get busy making a hole here and a hole here. So go ahead and do that, Mike. And go all the way up to where you can push the plastic back if you need to, or you're reading the material that's in there where your insertion point is, whether you're going to use the swivel head where you drive the rail in there, the round point, or you're going to utilize the chain. Once I get to that point, a lot of times I'll just put my big boot through there. Right there. Now what I've created is either a place for my underhook of my J-hook or my chain. What I like to do with my chain is that, you want to sling this, buddy, on top and bottom? Not that one. So the idea of that 20-foot chain being utilized in this scenario, the idea of using this chain is I want to be able to use both ends of it equally and efficiently. So what I'll do is I'll come where Mike is and I'll toss this thing just like this. And I'll have one hook over here and one hook over here. Go ahead. All right, so go ahead and make your loop. On average, Mike just tossed the chain, and you drop it up and over or down and under, and you rotate the hook away from you. Okay, now you got a place for your anchor point, where your ratchet strap's gonna hook into this, your insertion point on here, and on the bottom, we'll get to that in a minute, on the bottom, he's gonna hook a nice anchor point and make another loop on the bottom and utilize the J-hook at the back end of the car. All right, so we're gonna extend this out. Mike, you wanna do that?
Yep. And my insertion point's 1.5 feet. That's an elbow to a fingertip, unless you're goofy.
All right, so you pull both pins and extend. So, and that's a rough estimate. We're not building cabinets, we're putting up struts. We want to get them within a range of motion, range of angle, and not necessarily. You get it? Let's make sure we're not.
Hey, George.
Sir.
You're saying whatever height you're going to do, 1.5 feet taller than the height.
Yeah.
Starting with
Yeah, wherever you're. That's a good question, Kevin. Is that the question was asked is no matter what height you're going at, if you're going to put a strut in, you want to go at least above midline every time. Midline is from end to end, above halfway mark. Anywhere there, if it's at 4 feet, it's 1.5 feet. If it's at 6 feet or 8 feet, it's 1.5 feet, and it changes your angle. It's a good rule of thumb to work. So ratchet strap. That's good. We'll fix it in a second. So one guy can do all this in a matter of time. We're slowing it down for the video and for you guys teaching points on here. So you saw how it's 1.5 feet above that, and you just slide the base plate back, and it's in 45 to 60 every time. All right. So now working from the front to the back, try not to get in the collapse zone in here. Work from the front back, and just 4 feet out was all we need, buddy. And here's a 4 foot range on that. So you hook the ratchet itself to the base plate, to the forged ring there, and I'll come forward here, make sure this is nice and flat. Remember, it's a hook down, so I'm coming to the chain. Remember to rotate the chain around to where the hook is not in your way of the hooking area. Okay, there, pull out slack. We pull out 100% of the slack, okay? Let's move the base plate back a little bit. Here's something else you can do. Here.
I'm gonna loop here, because see how close it is already? Once I pull that chain tension out of it, I'm gonna lose all that space. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna suck it up, which again on these isn't the easiest thing to do. Because the base plate, you guys hear me? Yeah. The base plate on a Paratech is a lot bigger than the base plate on these rescue jacks, but it just is what it is.
Right on that bolt. That's a grade 8 bolt. So see how you utilize the double strap aspect in here? Pull 100% of the slack out, and you start the haul system. And so do you guys catch that? Running that finger hook through the forged ring there, and then pull out 100% of the slack. And when this angle here that we have on here, it's at perpendicular to the A pillar, coming straight out, but or 90 to perpendicular, but no more than that, because otherwise it doesn't even act as a stabilization strut. It'll just slide out. You follow me on that? So now we pull out 100% of the slack, and here's what happens. It's a really important point and a teaching point for your guys, is that what the strut's reaction does this 100% of the time. 100%. So when I start on a haul system, which is a haul system, and if you're using this terminology, use it like you're working with ropes. Haul team ready, haul team ready. Okay, haul. Okay, here's what happens. When he starts hauling on this, he's got 100% slack out. He starts hauling on this, the base plate moves, the tip moves, and then the car moves, in that order every time. Okay, on the bottom, when we triangulate, you'll have a little bit of lateral movement. I'll show you that in a few minutes, but he's based on that. I've got a good insertion point, so go ahead, Mike, hold that. Base plate moves, tip moves into the material, and then you guys saw the car move, right? Once the car moves, you stop. And now, how do I check and see if this thing's tight enough? Here it is, right here. Give it a light kick. If it moves at all, it's another 2 clicks on the ratchet strap. That's just a good rule of thumb to remember. It shouldn't move. Now, once all your system is set, it's really up to either A, you captains are in charge of it, or you assign somebody, you're in charge of the struts until we're done. Okay, because remember there's 4 phases of stabilization. You got your initial phase, okay, you got your primary, and now both of them together, you share the load, it becomes your secondary stuff. Initial, primary, secondary, and the 4th thing is adjustments. So if I take this door off, 250-pound guy out, I've taken that much weight off the end of this strut. I need to either adjust it or adjust it with a ratchet. Does that make sense? Because you guys saw how much it wobbled before. Even with just one strut in here, it's really almost eliminated the movement. So let's all go around the other side, and we get another ratchet and the J-hook. Insertion points on the bottom. You saw the angle. You saw the angle of the other one, 45 to 60. Same way to deal with it. So if he's back here and he wants to have it at the right angle, he knows 1.5 feet above whatever insertion point is. Now, when I'm on the bottom of a car, I have more options than I do on the top of the car as far as my insertion points. But really, and I say this with tongue in cheek, you want the insertion point to be at the same place on every vehicle. And you say, well, how is that possible with a truck, a car, or anything like that? What I mean by that is, figuratively speaking, I want it at the focal point or the balance point of the bottom of the car. So if I was to put this down on its wheels and pick it up with one finger, I want it to balance on my finger. That's where you put it, the focal point or the leverage point of this particular system. So as a rule of thumb, and I like them because it doesn't pin me in a corner, I can still do my captain stuff. I can decide front, back. And remember, we're not building cabinets. We're not boxing somebody into something. Give them a little leverage to make a decision on their own where they want to put it. So as a rule of thumb, the insertion point is 1 foot behind the A-pillar. So about right here. So I have this frame rail to choose from. And a lot of the unibody or the space frame type of construction, you'll have a partial frame rail that goes to about right here on the bottom. You can utilize that as well. And there's also, you got the rocker panel. This being a police cruiser, you're going to have beefed up stuff on this particular one. Now, as you can see, I have a good place for my round point on my strut on either one of these. I've got a place for my other part of my strut, and I can actually create something on a rocker panel. And the other thing too is that if you're in a situation like this, I want to be able to peel and peek and see what I have based on what I can visualize underneath. Remember, pull plastic anywhere you see it might potentially be in your way. All right, so now I can put my insertion point here on the rocker panel. I can put my insertion under the frame rail. I can put it into one of these holes, or I can create my own underneath in a spot that it's not all messed up from where I had done the damage before. Say on your anchor point, you can see where Mike chose to do the anchor point here is on the base of part of the body and the frame rail right here. Okay, and he's made an 18-inch loop on average. Your loops are about 18 inches. You could tighten them or loosen them based on your need. Okay, that's just a rule of thumb. That's worked. And on the back here, we come up here with this. Where's the J hook at? Over here. But you guys have these chains here. Same thing. You can use your grab hook on the base of this. Now, same idea right there. Now, if I have the little J hook, I can hook here, I can hook here, but I don't always have this spot. That's these little holes that are here. I can go back here with my J hook on these little holes here. I can go around this. There's all kinds of options, but you don't always have those particular joints, but you always have this, as long as you're at the base and not out here at the articulating end, the moving end. We don't want to load something that's going to move. If this rolls way off the road, the likelihood of this being attacked is pretty low. Go on possibilities and probabilities. The probability is that you're not going to have this bomb-proof anchor point, but I also have that. So I'm just showing to make a loop there. Now, when we do that, he's going to extend the strut to the proper position here. And what we're going to do is run the ratchet is going to be on this end. We're going to run it through the base plate and over to here to triangulate. So we're going to basically build a pyramid out of this thing, and it's a bomb-proof pyramid. So remember on this one, remember you got your step chock under the B pillar, and you basically built a triangle underneath this car. So it's to minimize the movement almost completely in a scenario like this where you can actually move in. And when you're inserting these struts in here, make sure your jack is out, because for initial use, you're going to see guys putting them every which way. The jack portion should be out. All right, so now, so now what we're going to do is run the running end, hook that on the chain, running in through here. Here, we're going to run this through here, over to here, straighten the strap out as much as possible. Good. Just take up slack a little bit. Here, here. Shorten your chain up. Oh, you're on the loop, yeah. All right. Yep. Go in the hole. Base plate moves, tip moves, keep going, keep going. There, stop, that's good. Face safety it down. All right, so now, vehicle stabilized. And once you get to this point to where the car, if you're doing both at the same time, what you'll see is the car will start to move. The base of the car will actually come off the ground or shift in one direction. Now the vehicle stabilized. Any one of you guys want to come up here and try and shake this car with just two struts in place? Actually, everybody come up here and shake this car. Right on this end here. Pretty bomb, right? Pretty bomb proof. Question was asked is if I'm on slope or grade, and around here you got topography to deal with every day in a ditch, in a wash, off the side of a bridge, or whatever it is, you deal with the low side first, the most hazardous side first. So unless it's just too dangerous, then you secure it, you hook it, you stop it, strut it, and then you move forward from there. And those angles we talked about up front, about 45 to 55 or 45 to 60 and 60 to 80, those are based on level ground operations. Okay, you got to start thinking outside the box when you're dealing with topography, slope and grade issues, and 80 might be perfect, or 30 might be ideal in a certain scenario based on slope or grade. But that leaves the latitude for you guys to make a field choice on how you want to operate it. And you got to really see the angles, and this is all about angles on this stuff. 40 to 60, 60 to 80. Okay, 60 to 80 is for lifting and capturing. If it's coming this way, I can lower it down carefully off of someone, or I can lift it up easier. If I'm at this angle, I'm not going to lift very easily. If I'm at this angle, I'm going to lift really easily. That's the whole idea behind that.